Does a convicted sexual predator with a long history of molesting children get arrested again for a crime against a little boy and just sail out of jail in a few hours? That's what we wanted to know after we found out what happened with a lifelong molester named Mark Klapper. Local 12's Rich Jaffe and a Hamilton County judge both thought there ought to be a law to prevent that.
36-year-old Mark Klapper is a lifelong child molester. Labeled a sexual predator, we found that he's been in prison at least 3 times for gross sexual imposition involving little boys. His criminal history goes all the way back to his childhood. On a Saturday in September, police say Mark Klapper followed a 5-year-old boy into the bathroom of a West Side Target store and watched him at the urinal for what police call sexual gratification. When the boy's father told a nearby police officer, Klapper ran and was arrested after a foot chase. Locked up for just a few hours at the Hamilton County Justice Center, Klapper's mother simply posted a $150 bond, and her son walked out without even seeing a judge.
You're out if they post the standard bond that's been set by the court.
The fact that Mark Klapper was able to walk out of the Justice Center by posting a cheap, simple bond right after being arrested is not extraordinary. In fact, it's quite common in the state of Ohio due to the state's standard bond schedule. The bond schedule is designed to help with jail overcrowding. Klapper's new charges of voyeurism and obstruction of official business were low-level misdemeanors that did not require review by a judge. Hoping to keep Klapper behind bars, arresting officer Don Meese wrote an extensive report. He clearly pointed out Klapper's long history as a pedophile. With the preset bond, no judge or magistrate had the chance to even read it. The following Monday morning, Mark Klapper did show up for his hearing in Courtroom A. According to prosecutors, as many as 400 people can funnel through this courtroom every day for arraignment.
We don't get these cases until they show up in the courtroom on that next morning after the arrest. And, you know, we have from approximately 8 o'clock in the morning until 9 o'clock when the bell rings to be ready to present the cases. This particular case, you know, it did catch everyone's eye.
Magistrate Melissa West continued the $1,500 bond on the longtime predator and ordered him to have electronic monitoring. Prosecutors protested for a higher bond, but West overruled them. A short time later, we contacted the Adult Parole Authority, and realizing Klapper was still out on parole, they put what's called a holder on him so he couldn't get out of jail. The next day, Mark Klapper was up for yet another bond hearing in front of Judge Brad Greenberg.
Well, I was alarmed when I saw his record and the facts of this case. He's a serial pedophile.
Concerned for the safety of the community, Judge Greenberg set Klapper's bond at $100,000 cash in an effort to keep him in jail. And at this point, he's still there. Greenberg, though, went even farther. He called for a committee meeting of judges. They reviewed the low bonds on voyeurism and public indecency charges. The group then voted to change the Hamilton County rules so that rather than cheap walkout bonds, those charges now carry $5,000 bonds. And most important of all, no one charged with voyeurism or public indecency gets out of jail before a judge reviews their case.
I saw that this was a problem. It should never have happened. Someone that's this dangerous shouldn't be able to walk in and have a bond that they could easily post and then leave. And, you know, he could have fled.
Greenberg says the judges didn't fix every loophole in the bond schedule, but for this one, he knew there ought to be a law. Almost all misdemeanor crimes in Ohio have standard scheduled bonds unless an officer or deputy gets to a judge before the suspect can bond out. As I checked around the tri-state across the river in Kenton County, for example, you can buy your way out of jail on bond for non-felony offenses just like Ohio. Also like Ohio, the rates vary according to the charge. Everyone who's arrested in Dearborn County, Indiana, however, ends up having the bond reviewed by a judge. No one just gets their bond paid and walks out. So clearly, it's an issue that changes wherever you are. But at least at this point in Hamilton County, they're working to fix some of that.
And you've got to give props to the judge who recognized what a bad guy this guy was.
Absolutely. The judge saw that. The police officer, Don Meese, saw that. Right. The prosecutor saw that. Everybody saw it, but it took Greenberg's action with the judges to change it, at least for now.
And all the loopholes aren't closed. It's got to be frustrating for the judges, for the police officer, and certainly for the victim.
Absolutely. And that sort of thing can come up on a case-by-case basis, and maybe the judges will do the same sort of thing. But in this case, they knew that those particular crimes don't just happen out of the blue. Yeah. They usually come with a very ugly history.
All right. Thank you, Rich.
Well, as Rich mentioned, Mark Klapper remains in the Justice Center on both the $100,000 bond as well as the state holder, as they call it. He goes to trial on November 25th for the voyeurism and obstruction charges in front of Judge Fanon Rucker. We'll let you